Dr. Michael Morbius at your service and bringing you one of the worst movies I think I've ever fucking seen.
Yeah, we just went and saw Morbius.
I had to bring myself. I had to get the courage.
Yeah, it's been out for a while. We put it off for good reason, for reason that is now justified.
I mean, I still did want to go see it for the purpose of absolutely shitting on it, but still just like the initial drive to have to want to pay money and go see it was something I had to get over, but we did it today.
Yeah. I got popcorn, a drink and an ice cream, and that was by far the best part of the experience today.
Yeah.
I don't know how you made it through. You didn't get any of that.
Just by
hatred.
The excitement of getting to shit on Jared Leto's latest work, really. So before anything, I want to speak on this man, this star of this film, if you want to call him a star. Initially, Jared Leto's career, I was like, oh yeah, he's actually a pretty decent actor, you know, he's been in quite a few good movies, like he's in American Psycho, Fight Club, won the Oscar for playing a transsexual in the Dallas Buyers Club, so I was like, yeah, this guy, everything I've pretty much seen him in so far has been good, and he's done a good job, and then he thought he was the Joker, that is really where it just went all absolutely downhill with that Suicide Squad movie.
Yep.
Pretty much made me lose all respect for him, like the method, whatever the bullshit,
fucking
whatever he
more
does.
like method acting.
Yeah, he describes
honestly,
it as method acting, and he's handing out used condoms amongst many other things.
Wasn't it like a pig's head or something?
I don't know, but I don't know what that has to do with just acting and like pretending to be somebody else. And ever since then, I pretty much just lost all respect for him because, I mean, the performance was absolutely terrible in that movie.
Yeah.
And it just like made
ruined the movie.
It just makes me think with every single thing we see Jared Leto in, Morbius included, like, he goes to these lengths of method acting to just turn in these shit performances in, like, some of the worst movies I've ever seen. Like, I'd say Suicide Squad's probably my least favourite DC movie of all time, off the top of my head.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'd now say the same with Morbius about Marvel.
But, I mean, yeah.
This guy really just is kryptonite to good films at the moment. Like, he won an not an Oscar, fucking forgive me for saying that. Won a Razzie recently for his film House of Gucci. So, like, this guy, I don't know what he's thinking really.
I don't think he is.
And obviously the method acting was present once again in this film with, I read that he was acting disabled.
Or just fucking is disabled.
It really
honestly.
did come through on screen for the entire run time.
This is what we're saying. There was like a scene where him and Matt Smith, who plays the villain,
are both doing the same acting.
Are doing the same thing. They're both walking on crutches trying to be disabled. Matt Smith is just clearly so much better than Jared Leto. After Jared Leto goes through all these, like, method acting.
I don't know why he does it. It just, like, method acting to me, I think, is pretty stupid.
Yeah.
You're an actor. Why do you need to go to these lengths to... Well, I heard Leto was needing to be helped to the bathroom and just extending the takes of each set because he couldn't do it because of having to walk around like a fucking disabled person. And I just don't know really what it brings to it, especially when the final product is a movie like Morbius. And even going into this, I don't know what more... Like we've said, like there was a kid playing the younger version of Morbius doing the same thing. I bet he wasn't doing all that method acting.
Yeah.
So is he already a better actor than Jared Leto?
I'd say so, yeah.
I'd say, yeah, I definitely would agree with that. But anyway, let's actually get
into it,
why
man.
Morbius is the worst movie I've ever seen.
Fucking everything at this point.
Year. Sony. Well,
that is literally what we said. Like, as soon as you see Sony come up on the screen, it's bound to be fucking shit.
Yeah. And
then in association with Marvel.
Yeah. So when I heard Morbius was going to be coming out, I was like... I didn't really give a fuck at all. But then also, Marvel had done stuff like Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man. I know this is made by Sony, so I should have known this was going to be bad, which I did anyway. But, like, there's still... Before any of the reviews or anything, or Jared Leto's casting came out, you thought that there is potential there for them to make a good movie.
Yep.
But the people... at Sony just don't...
They have self-destructive tendencies.
They really don't know, because I was searching this up before this movie. This movie is written by the same people who wrote... I don't know if you've seen any of these movies. Dracula Untold, The Last Witch Hunter starring Vin Diesel, and Gods of Egypt, which are all movies that receive like universally negative reviews, like really bad.
Yeah.
And... like, why would they think not casting, but hiring these people to write this film would make a good film?
Give them another chance, I guess.
It's like the same thing with every movie, like, especially action movies, over and over, they just hire these inept people. I don't know why, thinking that somehow it's going to make shit from whatever the fuck, I don't know.
Gold from shit, I guess.
Anyway, this movie was just one of the most, like, disjointed, all over the place hunks of fuck I've ever seen. Like,
Yeah.
the first half of the movie, I didn't hate it yet. Like, I knew what I was saying was bad. All the character development, everything was rushed. There was like a flashback scene which was about 2 seconds of them being children, which was laughable, I thought.
Not just that, but like the first scene where he's in Costa Rica
Yeah.
and he slices his hand. I feel like they made that out to be how he gets his powers.
Yeah, and the trailer, and I was thinking, yeah, because when they started with that, I was like, oh, they're starting from here already, all right?
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be the big scene where I thought, was becoming Morbius in that scene there. But I guess it was just for
literally
him to
led to
capture bats. Is that how he captured the bats?
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Like, nothing in this movie really was given any type of explanation, like, and yeah, so after that he captures bats and uses whatever to become a vampire.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the entire story of the entire movie, because, like, that pretty much encapsulates, like, the first half as, like, him becoming the vampire and, like, having to, like, deal with it, I guess. And then Matt Smith, who we've said is the villain of the movie, who's like his childhood friend, even though we don't really, there's no sense really to their friendship at all.
That's the thing. So he comes into the orphanage, his name's like Ludacris or something.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, Jared Leto's, Morbius is just like, I'll call you Milo.
Because I've called everyone who comes in here Milo.
Yeah.
For
and then
what
that's
reason?
just his name for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, everybody calls him Milo as well. Like, when it's clearly a Jared Leto, a Morbius thing.
And there's no significance to him being called that name, because Jared Leto's just called every fucking
creature under the sun.
every
Morbius.
person coming in
Milo.
on death row or whatever it is. Like, he's called them all Milo, so I don't know why this makes it any different, this particular person. You think if anything he would have come up with an entirely different name. I don't know. Anyway, but the action scenes in this movie, like when he becomes Morbius, I thought there's about 2 action scenes.
I thought the CGI was fucking awful.
And also, you just can't tell what is happening at all, because he's covered in
solar, like, that's not the word, sonar. Like sonar rays or something.
It's meant to, like, kind of show from their perspective how they're, like,
bats.
Yeah, their bat sonar or whatever. But he's just covered in this, like, misty stuff every time he moves around, and it just makes it so like, the lighting's terrible as well.
Yeah.
And it just makes it so impossible to tell what's happening. And then especially in the ending action scene, like,
it's a blur.
I'm going from the first action scene to the second, which is from the first to the last.
But that's
of the
just
movie.
what this movie could. But this movie was, like, honestly just jumped all over the place. So
like, I literally just said, like, the last 5 or so, whatever, how many scenes of the movie, I feel like you could have taken them, they could have been from any place in the movie and all just shoved in. This movie was just edited to absolute shit. You could tell, like, from the trailers, barely any of those lines were used. There were scenes clearly just cut out, and just shit happening all over the place. Like, especially with Matt Smith becoming this vampire, because he's got the same disease as Jared Leto. And then every single scene after that with him in it just felt like, okay, he's the villain, he just needs to be in this movie killing people. And it was just some of the most cliched and pointless shit I've ever seen. Like,
the death of the, like, adopted father or whatever he was.
Yeah. There's this guy, this old guy, I don't even know his name.
He obviously,
Did they give his name?
Nicholas?
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. There's no point to, like, these characters.
Yeah.
But he's like the one that looks after them in the orphanage or the hospital, whenever when they're growing up.
Yeah.
And he, like, Matt Smith. What even was his name? Milo. But, like, did he have a villain name? No. Milo kills him because why not? And then Morbius goes and finds him. And then 2 seconds later,
this is the end of the movie, by the way. Like, we've gone pretty much from the start to the end, but nothing happens through the entire middle portion of the movie.
All you need to know is that they both get their powers, and then they kind of fight.
Milo is just like a villain wanting, like, there was, I don't know, why were they fighting? What was Morbius doing for the last half of the movie? Trying to find some cure or something?
Yeah, taking over a random, like, money laundering lab.
That is another scene. Like, there were so many just random shit scenes. That, for one, is one of them. First of all, Morbius, he's like the most wanted criminal in New York, or maybe in the entirety of America at the moment, because they believe he's been doing these killings when it's actually Matt Smith. Even though, like, we have seen
CCTV.
Morbius kill actual, like, other people as well.
Yeah.
And it seemed to make anybody who wasn't a main character, like, the biggest asshole in the history of human history.
Yeah.
Just in order for them to kill people. Like, because otherwise they would have had nothing to do. So literally every single scene, like, there was that scene when he's becoming the vampire on the boat at the beginning. All those military guys were just like, oh, fuck off, I'll put this bitch in a coma by pushing her on the ground.
Oh, don't get me started on that. Is she pad-made?
Yeah, and then when Matt Smith's in a bar later for I have no idea what reason.
It was like a 20-second, like, scene. And he just goes into the bar, hits on this girl once. She's obviously got, like, a boyfriend or something. And then he's like, okay, fuck off. And then he kills them later. Like...
Yeah.
Oh, this movie just made zero sense.
It was just these scenes, and there was no consistency to the plot line at all. Random shit just to show things happening which had no consequence really at all.
Yeah.
And then I didn't mention the hospital scene yet, did I?
No.
So
the one with the black nurse.
Yeah. So this movie, if you can't tell already, feels like it was straight out of 2003, which is an insult to even movies, I think, that came out of that time, because this is terrible. But there's a scene, it's just randomly inserted in the movie. Like, you wonder who is in the scene, like, what characters are in it, and what fucking relevance it even has to the rest of the story, because we just cut to inside this hospital late at night. The lights are flickering on and off.
Why?
Have you ever seen this in a movie before?
A million times.
Yeah, exactly. And so this nurse is running down a hallway, and the lights are flickering on and off with. I think she was supposed to think it's Morbius chasing her, and then she is able to turn the lights on fully. I guess they just went on full power.
Yeah, she obviously just didn't turn them on before she walked down.
Didn't turn them on properly. And then turns around and gets eaten by what turns out to be Matt Smith. But why was that in the movie? I guess it was just to show him... Because there was no reason for him to be a villain, so it just had to have these random scenes of him murdering random people.
Yeah. It would have been like a better climax later, like as a big reveal. Not just him randomly going, oh, I killed her.
Yeah.
Like, it was a throwaway line of dialogue when they were outside.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh, you didn't kill the nurse, I killed her.
Yeah.
Like, it was just pointless. This whole thing was pointless.
Yeah, speaking of pointless, you've got Tyrese Gibson, who I thought was going to have a way more prominent role than he did. It made it seem like he was going to be like the detective trying to hunt Morbius down. But there's him and this other random guy who... Like, Tyrese pretty much just stands there while this guy speaks for him. And, like, they're trying to track this whole situation, but they're just, like, they didn't need to be in the movie at all.
No, they added nothing. They... honestly, they could have been played by anyone, like, in terms of their role could have been filled by any just regular police officer.
They could have been in one scene just to show, okay, the cops are trying to find out what's happening, but they were just in every scene just being like, oh... This is what just happened.
It's fucking stupid.
And that's pretty much it. And there was just absolutely no point. And yeah. Another thing I was thinking of was this movie, like, the script is terrible.
Yep. You don't want to see me when I'm hungry.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of. It's like they almost try and have serious scenes and then absolutely just blindside you with some of the worst dialogue you've ever heard in film. So yeah. Like, he imitates Hulk by saying, you don't want to see me when I'm hungry, which I was like, okay, that's one of the worst lines, the most laughable pieces of shit I've ever heard.
It's like Roman Reigns suffering succotash.
And also, Hulk doesn't exist in this universe.
Yeah.
So...
And maybe he's just making fun of the Snickers, like...
I don't know.
Who knows?
And also...
I don't think the writers know.
Speaking of stealing things... He literally walks into a room, like this little pod chamber, full of bats, and it literally plays Batman's theme from Batman Begins. I'm not even lying. Like, it's not even an imitation. It literally is Batman's theme.
Yeah.
And I was just...
And the whole thing with, like, his female sidekick having the cat, like...
For one scene.
Yeah, exactly. But, like, I feel like that's kind of what it was.
Yeah, his female sidekick is helping him out along the way. It's like, in one of the last scenes, the cops go to her apartment because...
They're obviously trying to track her.
I guess, even though they've been interviewing her the entire movie. And she has a cat. Like, just...
That is it.
They're like, oh, her cat's gone. And then the next scene just shows her with a cat and her kissing Morbius. And, like, the entire movie up until this point,
And
I was
then
like,
she
oh,
bleeds.
are they, like, meant to be... is she meant to be a love interest, or she's helping him? Like, there's absolutely no
chemistry or anything.
Yeah, no chemistry, no backstory. It doesn't really tell you who these people are. And then kisses him at the end as she dies... It was like one of the most anticlimactic.
Oh my God.
I mean, I guess it probably serves this character right for just being one of the most pointless characters anyway. But it was just like,
should we just go to this? So the ending, right? They have Matt Smith and Morbius have like a 30-second battle, which involves flying down through the ground, and then Jared Leto calls in his bat friends, and they like bring him back to life. They don't bite him or anything. They just kind of hype him up, and then he just stabs him with the antidote. Yeah, they pin him, Matt Smith down and stab him with this antidote that kills him.
And that was it.
And he literally flies back to... He flies out, and then we get a scene of... What even was the love interest name?
I don't know. But, yeah.
Like, she's alive?
She just, like... It's, like, directly after when that old guy used to look after them dies. Like, okay, this is, like...
They do the same thing over again. You can't even just
get more cliched than this. They've got, like, the old mentor, not like even really...
the one-liner to finish his life.
Like, go find him and end this, like, right before the end to give him motivation to do it. Because, like, I literally have no reason why they were even going against each other, really, anyway.
That was kind of his backstory, or his motivation was being a villain.
He probably had the best performance in the movie, I'd say easily, actually, because he just goes completely over the top and was like, yeah.
Because, like you said, there was only, like, 2 people in this movie at one time.
Yeah.
Like... he was like the only other person apart from Jared Leto to be in proper scenes.
That was one thing. It was just like, I felt like this movie wasn't even taking place in like a real human world, because it was literally just like Jared Leto in a lab the entire movie, just disconnected from everybody else.
This movie fucking
it was just
sucked,
like, it's hard
honestly.
to even follow like a straight narrative because this movie didn't have one.
That's what I was going to say. This video is a mess because this movie is a mess.
Nothing even mattered. It was just everything scrambled everywhere and like just had no meaning.
I feel like shit after watching this movie.
Especially the post-credit scenes. Which... insulting, really, to any fan of film.
So in the trailer, they show Michael Keaton's Vulture, Adrian Toomes. He's not in the movie. Which
just, to me, instantly shows, okay, they knew this movie was bad and had no faith in it, and were like, okay, we're just going to add him in to try and get people... And, like, even... I remember they said they were doing reshoots as well, and people were thinking it was going to be for Spider-Man. I wonder what those were. And also, like, I wonder if they even really took place, or if they were just to get people to think that they were going to add Spider-Man. Because really, people only went to this movie thinking, like, oh... surely there's going to be some connection to Spider-Man. And there is in the post-credit scene, and it makes no sense at all.
So it shows I mean, you've probably heard, but it shows the rifts that happen at the end of No Way Home, and then Toomes randomly appears in a prison cell. He gets released because he's not meant to be in this universe. Which, first off, how does he end up in this universe? No, like, this isn't his original universe. The going back through the portal, like... it sent everyone home. Why has it sent him to this universe? He should never have left.
Well, I guess that's when they all initially went to a different universe. Like when all the villains went into Tom Holland's universe, he went into that one.
But then when Doctor Strange closed it afterwards,
that wasn't straight away. So that second post-credit scene, he's got about 5 minutes until he gets sent back into
that's what I mean. Like,
Tom Holland's universe. Like,
and then he somehow gets his Vulture suit.
Yeah, I don't know. How does he have his Vulture suit when he's in an entirely different universe, when he's a person that probably doesn't even exist, maybe?
How do people... exactly. How do people know who he is?
Yeah.
Like, how can you identify yourself as someone if you aren't someone?
Yeah, so Morbius goes and meets up with him in, like, the middle of nowhere. First of all... like, why would they ever have any interaction together whatsoever?
How does he get in contact with him?
And Vulture's like, let's go get Spider-Man. Okay, Spider-Man doesn't exist in this universe.
Morbius doesn't know who Spider-Man is.
Morbius has not been a villain in this movie.
He has no reason to attack Spider-Man.
He literally establishes in this movie multiple times, like, I do anything to save a life, and it's like, everything he does is because he doesn't want, like, he's drinking the artificial blood because he doesn't want to kill people.
Yeah.
And then now...
he's a villain.
And wants
he is a villain to begin with, which is the problem, which was why they should never make movies of villains being good guys. Like, do you know what I mean? Like they shouldn't...
Venom.
Yeah, exactly.
But I guess it's just because... to make money. Well, obviously. Well, this is one of the worst... This probably is the worst superhero movie I've ever seen.
Hands down.
It's really just hard to even explain it because this movie is just... It doesn't even feel like a movie.
You just don't go watch it. I feel like by now
everyone's probably either seen it if they wanted to or not. I literally wanted just to see how bad it was.
Yeah.
The first half I was like, okay, this is bad, but like, I mean, not really that insulting. The second half just felt like, okay, we've got these random scenes and we're just going to chuck together, like, they have no, like, there's no narrative, and then at the very end we're going to have like a 30-second fight scene, which is literally over and the credits roll.
Morbius at no point actually beat Matt Smith in this movie. Like, he never bested him in a fight or anything.
Well, there wasn't even a fight. They just flew and he fell on the ground. There was no actual fighting. I'm not even lying. From like the moment they meet to have their final showdown to the end credits is probably like 3 minutes.
3.5 minutes.
I'm not even kidding. It literally is. Because he just fights him not even and then it ends straight away.
Yeah.
And that girl comes back to life, whoever the fuck she was. Give Jared Leto another Razzie and then I'll be happy.
Give Jared Leto the fucking thing that Matt Smith got to kill him.
Like,
because just retire, bro. Like, honestly.
Jared Leto didn't even stand out as being like absolutely terrible in this movie, but the fact that he's just in this movie
and it's the fact that he
bad.
went to the lengths he did to produce this shit.
Yeah.
Jared Leto, please retire.
Yeah.
That is what this video will be titled. Petition for Jared Leto to retire.
Yep. Never act again.
That's all I've got to say on this movie.
So it was a wild ride, to tell you.
It was a fucking waste of time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll catch you on the website. Pa 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 pa.
Piece of shit.
Piece of shit. Peace.